iti me matihi Vashyatmana tu yatata sakyo vaptum upayataho. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead declares that one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve success in self-realization. Trying to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment is like trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. Such a show of yoga may be materially lucrative, but it is useless as far as spiritual realization is concerned. Therefore, one must control the mind by engaging it constantly in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, one cannot steadily control the mind. A Krishna conscious person easily achieves the result of yoga practice without separate endeavor. But a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna conscious. Asamyatatmana yogo dushprapa iti me matihi Vashyatmana tu yatata shakyo avaptum tayataho. For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. So here we have the Supreme Personality of Godhead giving his opinion as to the statement made previously by Arjuna. Arjuna stated just some verses before, Yo yam yoga tvaya pravda samyena nilusidam tatyaham na pashyami chanchalatas kritim stiram. He thinks that the process of yoga is not practical and will not endure for long, because there is a great obstacle to the process of yoga, and that is that the mind is very fickle. The mind does not like to concentrate on things that we like to concentrate on, but it likes to concentrate on what it wants to concentrate on. For example, if there are objects of the senses, the mind would like to concentrate on the objects of the senses and not to concentrate on self-realization. That is why whenever it is very nice out, there are less people in Hare Krishna Center for the Sunday feast, because everybody is following their mind. And the mind says, it is nice out, so let us enjoy the nice day. Whereas, actually, for self-realization, one should rather hear about Bhagavad Gita. So there is a practical example of how the mind is causing us difficulties. We are all of the experience that our minds are not very stable. We may be thinking about something for some time, but then later on, the mind will think about something else. I've often made a thought experiment with people when doing programs. I ask them to concentrate on some object and try to keep the image in their mind. Just like, for example, we could say, concentrate here on the deity form, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and look at them for some time. Then close your eyes and keep that form in your mind as long as you can. Now, you can try it now if you like, but I can tell you what happens. After 1 second, maybe 2 seconds, if you're very advanced, 5 seconds, the image goes away. That's because the mind starts thinking, why should I do this? Why is he telling me to do this? Shouldn't I rather be thinking about other things? And thus the mind goes off. Now, that is a very practical proof, and you can do it at home anytime you like. Just try to keep something in your mind for a long time. You should be able to control your mind, isn't it? Sometimes people think that they are the mind. All the more that you should be able to control the mind. But actually, we cannot control the mind. The mind thinks what it likes to think, when it likes to think it. That proves we are not the mind. Because we should be able to control our mind if we are the mind. But we cannot. Therefore, the mind is something different than us. The mind is a material element, a material ingredient. Krishna explains in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He says that Umer apo analo vayu kam no buddhir evacha. Ahamkaritya me prakritim vinam ashtam. That there are 8 great material elements, of which there is earth, water, fire, air, ether, which are the gross elements, and then mind, intelligence, and false ego, which are the subtle elements. So the mind is the first of the 3 subtle elements. It is something separate from us. The mind is a material ingredient which is supplied to us along with intelligence, along with false ego, at the time when our existence within this material world begins. Now, we are eternal. There is no time at any point in creation or existence that we come into being. However, we are eternally situated in the spiritual world, but due to our desires, we come here to the material world to try to imitate Krishna as the supreme controller. At that time, when we come, we accept a gross and subtle body made of material ingredients. And then, mind becomes a very significant factor in our lives. Mind becomes the center of the activities of the senses. And you know what the senses are like. The eye is constantly demanding that we see different things. Nice forms. The mind wants to see nice forms. So it is constantly demanding to see different things. The ear is constantly demanding to hear different things. Nice music or nice sounds. And the nose is desiring to smell very pleasant aromas. The tongue is desiring to taste very nice tastes. So the senses are always eager for enjoying the bodily demand. The senses are bodily demands. I want to eat, I want to sleep, I want to mate, I want to defend, I want to smell, touch, taste, hear, and feel, smell, touch, taste, hear, and see. I want to enjoy all of these aspects of the body. And the mind takes up the role as the lawyer or attorney for the senses. The senses are saying, please satisfy me. And the mind is telling us, yes, my dear sir, what is the matter with you? These poor eyes are demanding to see, so you should let them see. Now go on, look. And if you say, no, I'm not going to look, the mind will say, go ahead, look. And you say, no. Mind says, come on, what's the matter with you? Just a little look, it won't hurt. Go ahead. And then you think, oh, okay. Then the mind has captured you once again. And then the tongue is saying the same thing. Just a little pizza pie. Not even a big one. You won't get fat, don't worry. It's only a little bitty bit. And anyway, it tastes so good. Go on, eat it. And then you say, no, but you must. Don't you understand? Your whole goal in life is to eat. You've got to taste and feel these wonderful sense gratifications as they roll around your tongue. Eat, please. Then the mind thinks of all different ways in which we become entangled in the desires for sense gratification. And in this way we live our lives. And the mind has become the pleader, so to speak. In India they have the pleaders in the court system. So the mind pleads on behalf of the senses. And thus the mind is constantly accepting different positions on behalf of the senses. The mind takes up the position of the mouth sometimes. Sometimes the mind takes up the position of the ear. Usually only one sense is dominant at a particular time. And the mind takes up the position of that particular dominant sense at that time. Therefore, it is never steady. It is always in an unsteady position. Chanchalatva. On account of unsteadiness, the mind is giving us a lot of trouble. Some people who are so bewildered by the position of the mind, they don't know what to do anymore. They commit suicide. They just commit suicide because they have nothing else to hold on to in life except their mind. And their mind is insane, telling them crazy things all the time. So they have no shelter because they are firmly convinced they are their minds. So then they kill themselves. And then they're in real trouble because then they accept the body of a ghost who has only mind, intelligence, and false ego. The ghostly body is filled with thought. And it's the same thought he had when he was in this gross body. But now he has no longer a gross body to change his situation. And he just repeats again and again the same thing which was driving him crazy in his gross body, now in his subtle body, again and again and again. Horrible situation. But that's what happens when you let the mind take control of you. Then it drives you crazy. And we all have experience of that, to some extent. Sometimes you have experience of hearing a song on the radio for many times. It's like they have this, what's called power play. You know, they play the radio songs again and again and again to advertise it so you go out and buy it in the store. So sometimes those songs go in your head and start rolling around in your head over and over again. and you can never get them out. And no matter what you do, you can't stop this song from in your head. I remember once there was one TV song when I was a teenager. It went in my head. And it was playing again and again and again, constantly. I was going completely berserk. You couldn't imagine it. I was trying to listen to every other song I could think of to forget this song. It was going on like this for days. I was going crazy. So then I managed to actually forget the song. And I was so relieved and so happy. And I said, now I have finally managed to forget that song. And then I thought, what was that song anyway? And then I remembered it again, and I went, oh no! It's got me again! And it went on like that for days. And, oh, what a suffering condition that was. I'll never forget that. Maybe you have some experience like that, with some song or something like that. It comes because you cannot control the mind. It's so unsteady. Unsteady means it is unpredictable what it will do next. Therefore, the process of yoga is meant for controlling the mind. But one must perform that process of yoga according to the actual principles of yoga. Not that one accepts some system of yoga on his mental concoction, or some system of yoga which he cannot possibly physically or mentally perform due to inability. Therefore, when Arjuna stated that it was his opinion that it is very difficult to perform the yoga process, Krishna says in the same verse here, Dushpara iti mate, iti me mati, that I agree with you, Arjuna. It is very difficult. I agree that what you are saying is correct. This system of yoga, which I have described to you in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, between those words Suchau Deshe and Yoga Parama, is a very, very difficult system of yoga to perform, and hardly anybody can perform it nowadays. Therefore, the system of yoga which is recommended in the present age is the system of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Excuse me, but some people would like to come in. If you could all move up a little, it would be very nice. Move up, move up, move up, move up, move up. Thank you very much, everybody. So there is this yoga process in the age of Kali. Now this yoga process is very nice. Kalaya dosha nirajam istyeka mahatmina kirtanadeva krishnasa mukta sangha param vijay. This yoga process is very nice because in this age we live in, which is called Kali Yuga, it's an ocean of faults. There are so many faults in this age that you cannot imagine it. Everything is wrong with this age that we live in. Because people have lost the ability to engage themselves in the mode of goodness or in spiritual life in this age. Therefore, they are lost in this age of Kali. It's an ocean of faults. We can describe it another time. We have described often about all of the faults in this age of Kali. But there's one good quality, Eka Mahatmana. And that one good quality is, if you can simply chant the holy names of Krishna, then all auspiciousness will come to you. That's the one good quality in this age. As far as performing all other kinds of yoga, that is not possible in this age. You know, formerly when people used to perform yoga in India, in the Himalayan mountains, they used to place themselves in a situation where they would simply stay there and never come back. If you walk up in the northern path towards Badarikashram, which I'm sure none of you are ever going to do in your life, but anyway, I'll tell you what happens if you do. When you walk up there, you see many holes in the side of the mountains. And you wonder how anybody could have ever gotten in those caves. Or if they ever got in, how they could have ever gotten out. Because those caves were meant for lowering a yogi with a rope. One of his friends would lower him in a rope into one of these caves, and he would just go sit in there and perform yoga for the rest of his life and give up his body in that cave. He would never come out again. There are caves like that when you walk up on the trail in the Himalayan mountains. Who's going to do that nowadays? Nobody. We have stated many times in the previous verses, in our lectures in the previous verses, that when it gets cold in the Himalayan mountains, it gets very cold. It makes Sweden look like Florida. You can't imagine how cold it is there. It's so cold. In the wintertime, it's so unbelievably cold. But the yogis, they meditate there. And sometimes they only have one cloth to cover themselves. And they meditate. Of course, they know yoga asanas to raise the body temperature so that they don't feel the cold. But to do those kind of asanas, you have to be a very dedicated yogi. Nowadays, nobody in this room is even going to be able to do that asana. I guarantee you, it's the most pretzel-like asana there is. You cannot do it. You have to take your legs and place them behind your neck with your arms sticking up like this. And if you can do that asana and roll backwards, then you can raise the body temperature. It's the most pretzel asana I've seen. You know, there are many pretzel-like asanas where you have to put yourself in an unbelievable position in order to perform the asana properly. And that one is for raising the body temperature so that you can exist in the freezing cold. Some yogis are completely naked and living in the Himalayan mountains. They don't bother even with any cloth whatsoever. And they take a little rest at night, laying straight on the ground, even with the ice. Some yogis go to such an extent in the Kriya Yoga process, as in the middle of the freezing winter, when the water is colder than ice. It's liquid ice. They put themselves in the freezing cold water up to the neck. It's flowing like anything. It's just super cold. And they allow the cold air to come, and they meditate in that condition. Then in the summer, when it's hot, they set fires on 4 sides of themselves and sit in the middle with the blazing sun coming down. That's called Panchagni. 5 fires. 4 fires in the sun. And in this way, they practice austerities. It's called Kriya Yoga. It's very, very difficult to perform this yoga practice. You all know about the standard bed of nails, I suppose. You've heard about that. Everybody's heard about the bed of nails. The yogis lay on the bed of nails in order to become detached. Some don't bother with a bed of nails. Some just go to a thorn bush and sit inside the thorn bush. These austerities are not possible in the Western world. Especially nobody here in Stockholm is going to do that. I guarantee you. Therefore, that yoga practice was meant for a different class of person. A person who was much more austere. A person who was much more strong. A person who had great, intense desire to become detached from this material body. Those people do not exist nowadays. Therefore, the process of yoga that is mentioned for the Kali Yuga is Kalota Darikirtana. Krite Yadayato Vishnu Chaitayam Yajatomakai Dwapare Paracharyayam Krite Kali Darin Kirtana. I got that verse out. Then in the Satya Yuga, you could meditate like that. In the Treta Yuga, you could perform yajnas and sacrifices. In the Dwapara Yuga, you could perform deity worship. And in the Kali Yuga, you can chant the holy name of Krishna. Hari Kirtana. Therefore, in this age we presently live, Everybody can engage himself in spiritual realization by chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is austerity. It's austerity of the tongue. We have to all perform different types of austerity. Now, austerity of the body is very difficult. But austerity of the tongue is rather easy, for the tongue has two main purposes: to vibrate and to eat. So you vibrate the sound vibration of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and you eat Krishna Prasadam by coming to Govinda's restaurant every day and taking your lunch. So, these two easy processes are there: to eat and to chant. Anybody can chant. All it takes is a tongue and some lungs and vocal cords and a process of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare. It's easy. Anyone can do it. Even a child can chant Hare Krishna. Anyone can do it. It's no problem. So, it's an easy process of yoga. And yet some people, they say, why should I do the easy process of yoga? It's too simple. I should take up the more complex process. That's better for me. I remember I used to preach in the communist countries in my younger days, when there were communist countries. So the first time I went to Hungary was around 1976, in February. And I remember preaching to the Hungarian people there. And Hungarian people, they have a quality that they like to speculate a lot. So I had a problem in one program that I did. I was explaining Krishna consciousness in a very clear manner, simple manner, so that everyone could understand. And when I asked for questions, the people started saying, but this is too easy. This cannot be spiritual. It makes too much sense. I said, does it have to be nonsense in order to be spiritual? He said, no, but it's too easy. Spiritual life can't be so easy. I said, why not? I said, you've simply made it difficult by mentally speculating all the time about what is spiritual life. They couldn't accept it. They had to understand something complicated. Then it would be spiritual. If I spoke like there are many yogis who come from India who speak all kinds of nonsense. And then the people think it's very intelligent. Why? Because they can't understand one word of it. If you can't understand one word of what somebody is saying, then you consider it very intelligent because it's way over your head. Like scientists, they speak about all kinds of things very intelligently. About the super duplex of the overwhelming of the black hole and the super whack and the this and that. And you just hear all these words and you think, my God, that's really scientific. When all they're saying is it rains when the cloud is coming. Everything in science can be explained according to very simple language. But people, the scientists, they have all these special words for everything. But because we don't understand one word about all these words, we think this is very intelligent. It could be something very simple. Similarly, in spiritual life, you talk about the Brahman and the oneness and the void and the this and the that, and everybody thinks, yes, it's all one, it's wonderful, that's fantastic. Although it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Therefore, we have this problem in Krishna consciousness, is that we speak very clearly and very concisely from the Vedic literatures, and it's very easy to understand what we're saying. And some people don't like that. Well, what can I say? I'm not going to cheat you by sitting here and speaking all kinds of complicated nonsense that you can't understand, and then telling you this is spiritual life. That's not spiritual life. Spiritual life is very simple. Just like Krishna, at the end of the 6th chapter, will tell the conclusion that he has about yoga. He says, Yogi nama pisavesham madhyatanantaratmana sharavam bhashati omam same yuktatamo mata. Again, Krishna is giving his opinion, mataha. Just like here in this verse, iti me mati, this is my opinion. This yoga process is very difficult. At the end of the 6th chapter he says, and of all yogis, yogi nama pisarvasham, all types of yogis, whoever you may name as a yogi, all yogis, Sarvesham, everybody. That yogi who is always concentrating on me and abiding with me and serving me in great and transcendental faith, that yogi, I consider to be the superior of all yogis. The greatest yogi of all yogis is that yogi who's always concentrating on me, with his mind fixed on me, his heart dedicated to me in devotional service. Bhajateyomam. Devotional service is the whole key to Bhakti Yoga. Devotional service has 9 forms. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasya Sakyam, Atmani Vedanam. 9 processes of devotional service. This means, first of all, hearing and chanting. These are the 2 first processes of devotional service. It's like now, I am chanting, I am speaking about Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavat philosophy, protector of the particular holy dhams, Vrindavan and Mayapur specifically, or even Jagannath Puri. They always worship a form of Lord Shiva at the door or gateway to the holy dhams. Worship. It's generally for the second initiated, those who are more advanced. Then there's Vandanam, which is offering of prayers. You can take prayers which have been offered by great devotees in the past and offer them to Krishna. Or else you can invent your own prayers, just as long as you don't use gimme prayers. You know gimme prayers? My dear Lord, please give me this, please give me that. I need this, please give me that. Krishna is not our order supplier, so we should not offer gimme prayers. We should offer prayers for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. He knows what we need, and if we really need it, He'll make sure we get it. There's no need to ask for it. So, then there is Dasyam. Dasyam means to be the order carrier for the Lord, to perform some service which is satisfying to the Lord. Just like if I give you an order, go out and distribute invitation cards to Govinda's restaurant. Then you go out and do that. You're the order carrier. You've accepted the order and you're doing like that. Then there is higher forms, like becoming the friend of the Lord and offering everything to the Lord, which is possible only when one is very advanced. So these 9 processes of devotional service are easy. You can perform all 9 of them, or 8 of them, or even only 1 of them, and become perfect. Just, for example, Sri Krishna Savane Pariksit, Maharaj Pariksit, he became perfect by simply listening to the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's all he did. It was his whole service. For 7 days and 7 nights, he sat down and listened to Shukadeva Goswami, who became perfect by chanting Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's possible to become perfect just by performing 1 of these processes. So it's so simple, Bhakti Yoga. It's not a difficulty. But it is a difficulty if the mind is uncontrolled. If the mind is uncontrolled, everything is difficult to do. Because without the cooperation of the mind, one cannot be successful in spiritual life. Therefore, Krishna says in this verse, for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is a difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Appropriate means. Not that you take up another form of yoga which seems very glorious or very romantic or something like that. One should take up a form of yoga which is practical, which is easy to do, and which you can do every day. That is the bhakti process. Something you can do every day. Every day you can chant Hare Krishna. Every day you can come to the temple. Every day you can hear or read these books. Every day you can do some kind of service. It's not difficult. It's something you can do for the rest of your life. And at the time of death you can remember Krishna and immediately transfer yourself to the abode of Krishna in the spiritual sky. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam chijanti antikalevram. Whatever you think of at the time of death, that state you shall attain without fail. So just try to become Krishna conscious. That's the point. And try to control the mind by accepting an appropriate process of mind control, and accept that process and perform that process daily. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, always engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. And then attain that supreme success of attaining Krishna in this life, and in next life go back to Krishna, which is the perfection of existence. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions? Yes?
I want to raise a question about the material and the immaterial.
Okay.
For instance, I suppose that you have a pair of shoes.
I certainly do.
And wear them till you get a hole in the sole.
That's right.
Of the shoe.
That's my nature.
Yes. Then I wonder, is the sole absolute condition for the hole, or is the hole an absolute condition for the sole?
You really stumped me on that one. The hole?
In the sole of the shoe. Is the sole of the shoe.
The sole does not depend on the hole in any way.
But in your shoe.
In my shoe, the sole of the shoe does not depend on the hole in any way. In fact, it's perfectly fine without the hole.
Yes, but what I'm trying to get to the clue is the sole an absolute condition for the hole, or is the hole an absolute condition for the sole?
I cannot answer that question. You have managed to bewilder me completely. Or are you thinking that when we speak about the soul, we're speaking about the soul of the shoe?
That's not this sole.
Oh, well, this soul is what I talk about. The soles of shoes I never talk about. So unfortunately, I can't answer your question. Yeah.
I was wondering about these yogis. I've heard, I don't know very much about this, but I've heard that there are yogis that claim they are incarnations of Krishna. And I wonder...
They are called rascals.
Yeah, but how, I wonder, like in the Bible it says, you know, if there's for God's Sundays, for example, there must be a prophecy and there must be, you know, literature and stuff about him that says that he's about to come, you know.
Yes, that's also there in the Vedic literature. That if you want to be known as an incarnation of God, you must be predicted in the Vedic literature, and you must be accepted by the activities that you perform as doing something extraordinary which only God can do. Just like some yogis say they're God because they can create some gold or ashes. Now, there was a very famous magician in Calcutta, his name is Sarkar. And he went to one of these yogis, and when the yogi pulled out his ash, he pulled out a sandesh and said, "Here, this is for you. I'm also God." And the yogi got very upset, because this person had figured out his trick. The yogi, he only wears long sleeve shirts that come down to here and that are very wide here. And every magician knows that that's the way you pull out things from the shirt, by sleight of hand. Okay, even you can make some ash or gold. I don't want to argue the point. But what is that? Krishna has made all the gold mines in the whole creation. Not just some little piece of gold.
But I think it's strange how people can be fooled by such simple things.
They become fooled because they want to be fooled. When you want to be cheated, you can be cheated. It was like in the old days, they used to sell hair oil, you know, oil that you put on your head to make hair come out. And all the bald people bought the oil. Why? Because they wanted to get hair. They wanted to be treated like that.
But is there any way one can help such a person to put light on what they're thinking?
You can tell them that the incarnation in Kali Yuga has already appeared, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's no other incarnation of Krishna until the end of the Kali Yuga. So what is the person talking about? I mean, there are many points you'd have to go to it little by little. Generally, they don't care. I know that particular group very well. They never accept it. Because they want to accept this person. I always make the point like this, that God has 6 opulences. One of them is all beauty. This particular so-called incarnation is rather ugly. So I say God is never appears in an ugly form. Always the most beautiful form. Yes?
Is there a difference between serving Krishna and serving Krishna's devotees?
No, in fact, it's better to serve Krishna's devotees than to serve Krishna directly. Tadiyanam samarpanam. Aradhanam sarvesham, Vishnu aradhanam param. Tasmat paradanam devi, tadiyanam samarpanam. Lord Shiva said that to his wife, Durga Devi. This is Parvati. He said, the highest worship of all worship is to worship Vishnu. But even higher than that is to worship the devotees of Vishnu. Tvadiya, those who are in relationship with Vishnu. Why? Srila Prabhupada has explained it many times. Yasha prasada bhagavat prasado yasha prasada nakati katoti. That by worshipping Krishna, or by Krishna's grace, you get a spiritual master. Now, you don't know anything about Krishna at that time. But by worshipping the spiritual master and satisfying him, you automatically understand Krishna. The spiritual master shows you Krishna. So therefore, we say about the spiritual master, Kintu Prabhurya Priyavitasya. Because he's so dear to the Lord, he's practically on the same level as the Lord because he's showing you God. Therefore, you worship him as non-different from the Lord. He's not Krishna, don't make that mistake. He never will say he's Krishna or equal to God in any way. But you worship him on the same level because he's giving you Krishna. Okay?
I want to ask about
Yoga mind.
Mahamaya and Yoga mind.
What's the difference between Yoga Maya and Mahamaya? Mahamaya means the material illusory potency. And Yoga Maya means the spiritual illusory potency. Now they're both illusion. And in fact, Mahamaya comes from Yoga Maya. However, Mahamaya is what we are in now in the material world. That makes us think that we are this body, that this is our country, that we are big or small or fat or tall or skinny or man or woman or rich or poor or learned or stupid or whatever. These illusions are due to Mahamaya, the material energy. And when you are in the spiritual world, and you are thinking yourself the mother of Krishna, or the lover of Krishna, or the friend of Krishna, that is called Yoga Maya. That is also illusion. Because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can be his mother? He's eternal. But one devotee is thinking, this is my son, out of love. That's Yoga Maya. So the Yoga Maya acts in the spiritual sky, and the Mahamaya acts in the material sky. Yes?
I want to ask about chanting Holy Name. For example, when I'm home or when I'm chanting high, what I have been doing when I'm going on the underground, when I'm going places where there's much people, they don't know about this. I used to chant it in the mind. I wonder if it's okay to do that, right?
Yes, it's quite all right. To chant the holy name in the mind is fine. However, we usually chant every day a minimum amount out loud. So if you chant that, at least that minimum out loud, then if you chant in the mind, just like it's very hard to chant in the underground. It's always that boom, 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 and all that noise. So it's very difficult to chant. Even if there was nobody in the car and you were trying to chant, it would be very difficult to hear. So sometimes the mind can go on chanting, that's fine. Yes?
I wonder if there's any way to exchange this material body for the spiritual body when and now is not.
There's no shot that I know of where you can make that exchange. However, at the time of death, you can certainly exchange this material body for a spiritual body if you're fit for that. You can also do that in this lifetime, if you are very qualified. If you are iha yasya haryadasya kamana manasagira nikilasya girvasta sujivan mukta viruchite, that if you are, with your body, mind, and words, simply engaged in the devotional service of the Lord full time, then that body you are in is no longer a material body. It becomes spiritualized, especially at the time of initiation. And the more and more you engage in devotional service, the more and more it will be obvious that it is absolutely spiritual. Now the example given is of an iron rod and the fire. Prabhupada gave this example. It's such a good example. Let's say you've got an iron rod. You know, you can bang it on the ground, bang, 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 bang. So that iron rod is of one quality. But if I put it in a fire and heat that fire up, the iron rod will become red hot and even white hot. Now, although it's an iron rod, it is acting like fire. If I touch it to something, it will burn. Although it's still iron, it has now the quality of fire. No longer just iron, now it's fire. So similarly, the body, when it's engaged fully in the fire of devotional service, develops spiritual qualities. Although it may seem to be like the body we knew before, it's actually spiritual in nature.
But someone has to get over.
Yes, but when such a body dies, we do not burn it. When spiritual bodies, those fully spiritualized bodies, disappear from this planet, when the soul disappears, we take the body and bury it in a samadhi. That's called a samadhi. This little tomb. Because it's spiritualized. This book is also spiritual, but it's made of paper and cardboard and ink. It will also deteriorate in due course of time, but it's fully spiritual. There's nothing about this book which is material. But still, it is following the material laws to a certain extent. This is called inconceivable simultaneous oneness and difference. Something can be spiritual and maintain connection with the material world simultaneously. Yes?
There's aspects of our philosophy that I find very common and useful for other people like parents.
What did you say at the end?
Yeah, well, there's these aspects of philosophy among these people like
Aha, like the Hungarians. If yes, you can, but what benefit will they get? Because not everybody in the audience thought it was too simple. Some people thought it was nice. So usually when I preach, I'm just telling you how I do it. When I preach to anyone who can hear. If out of an audience of 20 people, there's one person who can actually hear and understand, I'll preach to that one person. If 15 people want to hear something very complicated that they can't understand, I won't do it. This is kind of like cheating them. Okay, I preach to them something they can't understand. And what benefit they've gotten? Doesn't benefit me, doesn't benefit them. It's just a waste of time. So rather, I try to get them to understand on whatever level they can. Whoever amongst them they can understand. Then I consider that a success. That's how I feel. You may have a different opinion. Okay, good. Time for the feast. The best part of every program. I know. Harikesa.